But I think these games should be burnt down to what they actually are. I mean, seriously, what the actual fuck was the UK thinking back then? Well, I think instead of talking about the worst games I've ever played, I think I probably might actually do one about the games I actually do like. Greetings and salutations, my wonderful people, it's Bloody Jack from the Bloody Jack channel. And as as I came to the realisation that it's my 20th birthday coming up, and I thought it'd be a nice idea to talk about one of my top 100 video games of all time, just to show how fucking old I really am, due to the amount of games I've actually played in my life. So what I'm doing is, since there's 100 games for me to talk about, I decided to take the easy way around and make it more fun for other people, or a lot more shorter due to YouTube standards. I'm going to cut down each single bit, so I'll only do 10 games per video. So this video will start everything off with 1 to 10 games that I've chose in a randomizer. So what I literally did, I wrote down all my top 100 video games of all time, and I basically put them numbered them all down, and I put them through a randomizer, so the order that they appear on the randomizer are the games I'm going to present to you today. And that is the order I've put them in for each and every video. So let's start off with the intro. If you like, comment and subscribe before the intro, I'll be your best mate. So let's cue the music.
Your path to be. We're all here just for all the fun. Now you're jamming hard, yeah. Hype it up all once again. Hype it up.
So, starting off with this list, I want to choose Resident Evil 4, which came out in 2005 on the PS2, on GameCube and PC, and even got remastered for the Xbox One, PS4 and the Nintendo Switch and PC numerous times, and also for the 360 and the PS3. So this game takes place obviously after Resident Evil 3, and you play as Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 2. And he gets sent down by the US government to go to this small little remote village in Spain to rescue the president's daughter. As many people, I mean, this game's obviously obvious why I love it so much. If you've played the other Resident Evil games, you can see why I love it as well. What port I think is the best one for Resident Evil 4, I wouldn't say it really would matter on what port the game's best with. I mean, me personally, I bought the steel case special edition of Resi 4, which comes with the game manual and with all the hidden secrets in the game. But I am going to try my hardest to keep all these videos very brief and simple. But yeah, I'd say it's the one Resident Evil game that actually kind of changed the gameplay mechanics for the whole Resident Evil franchise as a whole up until Resident Evil 7, where it's the whole third-person shooter kind of gameplay. Same thing what was copied in games like Dead Space and Gears of War. But I think Resident Evil 4 is the first one to actually do it the right way, and it was the first one to staple this piece of gaming genre. As a horror game, it does really well with some scares, but it's more action horror based gameplay. But I'd say go check the game out for yourselves. It's available at the moment on the Xbox Store, on the PlayStation Store, and it's available on Steam as well. And you can probably get it real cheap as well. So, moving on. Another Resident Evil game. But this one's a little bit different. It's somewhat more recent, up until a few weeks ago. Resident Evil 2, the remake, which came out last January. It's a remake of the classic PlayStation 1 Resident Evil 2. And it's being run through the same graphics engine as Resident Evil 7. And if you ask me, if you look through all the cutscenes and the gameplay, literally everything works to full effect through the new game engine. But if you played the PS1 version of Resident Evil 2, you know the story is straightforward. There's 2 campaigns. You can play as both Leon and Claire Redfield. And this game is set only a few weeks after the original Resident Evil, where the Spencer Mansion blew up and some of the T-Virus dogs have managed to escape into Raccoon City and are infected. They started infecting the public. And when you play as Leon Kennedy, who is just starting as our Raccoon City police officer, he's going there to sort out a distress call that he received recently. And he teams up with Claire Redfield, who is the younger sister of Big Beef Man Chris Redfield from the first Resident Evil, who was going through the city trying to search for her older brother. I'd say, as a modern Resi game, although it has the exact same mechanics that were, like I said before, from Resident Evil 4, but I think they did a few tweakings here and there, like with the inventory and combining items, which is a staple in Resident Evil tradition. It did it very, very solid. I can't say it now. Solidly. And the dialogue, although has changed, being more better performed than the campy, obvious dialogue from the PlayStation 1 games, I'd say the Resident Evil 2 remake is really well done. But not only you're surrounded by zombies, but you're also surrounded by lickers, which are blind as hell but are attracted to sound. And you've got the big Chad boy himself, Mr. X, who is hands down the most terrifying beast I've ever come across in any game history in a long, long time. And would I recommend Resident Evil 2 the remake? Definitely. If you love horror games like me, you would definitely check it out. Moving on, I'm kind of cheating here, which I will do throughout this list. All the Devil May Cry games. Which one? It doesn't bloody matter. They started from 2001 all the way to 2019. There's currently 6 games in the series. 7 if you count the HD remake. So I'm going to talk about these games very quickly. So Devil May Cry 1 came out in 2001. Originally it was going to be a Resident Evil game, but there were a few reasons why they didn't do that. They said that Dante, the main character you play as, was way too similar to Leon from Resident Evil, and also the fact that the game was way too batshit insane as it is. But yeah, despite the game has a few flaws like the fixed camera angles and a few like slick control issues that I had personally with the PS1, well not PS1, the PlayStation 2 version, I think the game was pretty damn good. It was so good, even as you can see here with my copy, I managed to get the PlayStation Platinum Edition, or if you live in the US, instead of PlayStation Platinum, it's actually PlayStation's Greatest Hits, which Devil May Cry actually was. It sold really well all worldwide. But yeah, the story of it, basically you play as Dante, who is a demon hunter, and he teams up with this woman called Trish. But there's a slight difference about Dante thing. Well, there's a slight thing about Dante, as you would with most supernatural games like this. Dante is half demon and half human. His dad was the general of Hell's Army and then got banished for reasons. But yeah, you got to travel across this this castle on an island, and you got to face the guy that apparently killed Mundus's father and mother. Still an alright game. Devil May Cry 2, successor to Devil May Cry 1, which came out in 2003. Slight thing about the original 3 Devil May Cry games, at the time they were actually PlayStation exclusive, which I managed to get copies of fairly recently. I can't remember that much about the plot, I'm not even going to bother reading the blurb on the back. But I just remember I had slight issues playing with this one, even in a HD remake. I had slight issues with, and I believe there was 2 campaigns to this game as well. So if your opinion is different on Devil May Cry 2, please say in the comments on what you think it was. And then in 2005 we had Devil May Cry 3: Dante's Awakening. I blame one of my friends from college who convinced me to play this, my friend Jake. And he said that Devil May Cry 3 is the best Devil May Cry game, so I was like, okay, I'll buy into it and see what the game's about. So it turns out Dante has a twin brother called Virgil, who is the complete opposite of Dante, who I'm not going to spoil anything, but you can play in this game. You can play as both Dante and Virgil. I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to play this short clip from the start of the game.
This party's getting crazy. Let's rock. Don't bet on it.
Yeah, so that's how it basically turns out. I say, thanks to my friends at college, it's actually really good, and it's what properly got me to play the other Devil May Cry games that I didn't own at the time. Then, in 2008 we had Devil May Cry 4, which introduced another new character, Nero, who has become a main character in not only this game but also in the most recent installment in the franchise. I'm not going to spoil that much of Devil May Cry 4 for anyone. But then in 2012 the first 3 original games got remastered for the Xbox 360 and for the PlayStation 3. But they got remastered again. They changed the controls to make them more easier to use. Still same gameplay, same kind of graphics, but obviously in a combination of 1080p and 4K HD. But yeah, this became that popular, it actually got re-released for the Xbox One and PS4, and very recently on the Nintendo Switch. But yeah, and also they released a DLC for this game where you can buy Devil May Cry 4 as well, the special edition. But yeah, like I said about the 3 previous Devil May Cry games, they're pretty good, in my personal opinion. And if you like action horror games, go for it. But in the following year of 2013, the franchise got rebooted into DMC Devil May Cry. A lot of controversy about this game, but me, on a personal standpoint, I actually quite like it. Despite, yeah, Dante looks like a bit of a crackhead, and they basically increased the edginess up to 1,000 on this. I'd say I like the soundtrack. The characters are somewhat subpar. Yeah, I mean, the gameplay itself is actually fairly decent. Moving on, we also got, finally, in the Devil May Cry franchise, Devil May Cry 5, which came out last March. I haven't beaten the game yet, but I'm right near the end anyway. I saw the trailer for this on an E3 livestream, and I got really, really excited about it. I bought the game a little while after it came out. You can play as 3 characters in the game, Dante, Nero, and V. And without spoiling any part of the game in itself, I'd say that graphically, fantastic, story-wise, amazing, and the best song, I think, yeah, it can be slightly overrated now, probably due to memes and such, but the best song in Devil May Cry 5 soundtrack, I gotta say, is Devil Trigger. No questions asked. Moving on to the next game before I bought myself. Crash Bandicoot on the PlayStation 1. Now, this game is actually very close to me, because this, in fact, was actually the very first video game I ever actually played in my life. So if it wasn't for Crash Bandicoot, I probably wouldn't have gotten that much into playing video games in general. The story is very basic, even for platforming games. The game came out in 1996, and it was developed by Naughty Dog, who are now well known for games such as Jak and Daxter and the Uncharted franchise, before Crash Bandicoot ended up getting bought by Vicarious Visions, Activision, and Toys for Bob. But the game itself is very simple. Crash is a Bandicoot who was originally going to be a soldier / general for Dr. Cortex's mutant army. But Crash ended up being the reject that he is, escaped, and now he has to travel all through from Insanity Island all the way back to Cortex's lab, while smashing boxes and collecting Wumpa Fruit, but also riding warthogs, running away from boulders, and being followed by Aku Aku. But yeah, like I said, Crash Bandicoot, one of my all-time favourite games. Next, Spyro the Dragon, which came out in 1998 on the PS1, and just like I forgot to mention with Crash Bandicoot, got remastered in the most current couple of years from the Insane trilogy. Spyro the Dragon is actually very simple, is almost as simple as Crash Bandicoot. It got expanded into an awesome trilogy on the PS1. But yeah, Spyro is a young purple dragon who lives where you have to basically travel across all of the 5/6 realms, and you got to try and collect 14,000 pieces of treasure, and also you got to try and save a fuckload of dragons from the evil nasty Nork. I mean, other than that, I think Spyro the Dragon is a flawless trilogy, and I even bought the Reignited trilogy along with Crash Bandicoot. Moving on, we got Doom. Now, I would be very specific on which Doom game, but just Doom in general is one of my favourite franchises in gaming history. I've got the original copy of Doom 3 for the original Xbox. I would say this game is actually pretty hard, even for me. It's the hardest first-person shooter I've actually played other than Metro. But it was actually alright for its time, and it was also made to promote the piece of shit that is the Doom movie. But yeah, Doom was first developed by id Software, who just came off the success of the original Wolfenstein 3D. The game came out in 1993 on PC, then it got adapted for the N64 and the PS1, which would be known as Doom 64 and Ultimate Doom. Then the following year in 94 we had Doom 2, then in 2004 we had Doom 3, and then we had the Doom movie the same year, only a few months prior. But Doom 3 was actually that popular And for the 25th anniversary of Doom in 2012, we had Doom 3, the BFG edition, which came out on PC, Xbox 360 and the PS3, which was also 3D compatible because 3D TVs were just coming out at the time. This actually, I would say, is the better Doom game if you want to get not only the original 2 Doom games, but also the better, superior version of Doom 3. I mean, the original Doom plot is very simple. I mean, Doom 3 is not even connected to the actual series itself. I mean, Doom 1 and 2, you're basically just some guy, you kill shit, you're on Mars, you make your way back to Earth, you kill more shit. But if you want to see a more in-depth review of Doom, I would recommend you guys check out the Cadicarus review on the PS1 version of Doom, which I will put a link in the description below that you guys can go watch that as well. But then in 2016, from 2012 all the way to 2016, we didn't have another Doom game for a little while. Then, thankfully in 2016, Doom got rebooted with a fresh new remake. It was all remade from the ground up. It had an awesome soundtrack, awesome gameplay, a more in-depth backstory to the Doom guy, or he is now known as the Doom Slayer. I would highly recommend you guys buy Doom 2016. I know Doom Eternal has come out in the past few weeks. I want to play it. It's my birthday coming up. I don't have a copy of the game yet, but I know if I do get it, I'll probably end up making another series, a playthrough series on that. But moving on from that, the Life is Strange games. Well, the Life is Strange quadrilogy. I asked an opinion amongst my friends at college on this. Mostly my friend, for the sake of argument, I'll say her name is Beth. But yeah, I got only Life is Strange 1 Limited Edition and Life is Strange Before the Storm. I downloaded the original Life is Strange and I played through all 5 episodes in a matter of a week. I quite actually enjoyed it. It has actually been grown on me so much. I like the story, I like the characters, I like the soundtrack. And then I ended up buying Before the Storm, which is a prequel to Life is Strange. Life is Strange, though, originally came out in 2015 and it's still going on. Most recently, in 2018, we had Life is Strange 2, but we did have a spin-off game which would bridge the all the games together in a slight way with The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, which is a free download. You can download the first episode for free from these 2 games, and you can download The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit for free as well. It was made by Square Enix, and with Square Enix having a really good track record of making classical games like these, I would highly recommend you guys get physical copies of these games, especially the limited editions, because you get the soundtrack, you get all the DLCs, you get an art book. It's great. And I haven't played Life is Strange 2 yet completely. I've only played a little bit of the first episode, and I do think it's actually quite amazing. Moving forwards, we've got Bioshock. Now I'm cheating a little bit here because I put Bioshock and Bioshock 2 on this spot because they're technically the same game. Because Bioshock 1, you basically play as a guy called Jack, who barely speaks throughout the game. He was on a plane ride that crashes, then you end up going to the underwater city known as Rapture. And Rapture has been taken over by these mutant fish people. But also you've got to try and stay away from the big daddies and the little sisters. Then Bioshock 2 literally takes place right after Bioshock 1, and I think Bioshock 2 is a slight step up from the original game, where you can actually be inside the Big Daddy suit with a big drill as your main weapon. But other than that, I actually quite enjoy Bioshock 1 and 2. My opinion on Bioshock Infinite, though, it's a hit and miss really for me. But the end, I think the gameplay itself in Bioshock Infinite was okay, but the ending just kind of sucked ass. Moving on to the next spot, the original Banjo-Kazooie. I know I don't have physical copies of Banjo-Kazooie, because me trying to find the cartridge, because it came out on the N64 and it was developed by Rare Replay. Well, I got Rare Replay right here, but it was developed by Rareware, who are currently still working on Sea of Thieves, with constant updates and DLCs and such. But yeah, Banjo-Kazooie, one of my favourite platforming games. You play as the bear called Banjo, and you also get his companion Kazooie. You've got to go around all different areas collecting puzzle pieces, which is otherwise known as Jiggies, or just Jiggy. And you've got to try and help Banjo and Kazooie get all the way down to the evil witch Gruntilda, who is keeping Banjo's little sister Tootie in a hostage situation. I would recommend if you guys have a PC or an Xbox, definitely get Rare Replay if you want to play all three of the original Banjo-Kazooie games. But yeah, moving on, another game that I have on Rare Replay, and it's one of my favourite platformers, other than Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Banjo and so on, is Conker's Bad Fur Day. You can get this on Rare Replay. If you can find a copy of it on the N64, have fun trying to track that down, because it goes for stupid amounts of money. And apparently one of the most controversial games of all time. I mean, yeah, it seems like a kid-friendly game, but it really isn't. It's a simple plot, really. Conker is a red squirrel who basically woke up in a hangover one day and took it upon himself that he just wants to go home and catch some shut-eye. But yeah, I'm just gonna play this cutscene from the game. It'll probably explain everything.
Uh-oh.
Me. I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat? Do you really think you'll survive in here? You don't seem to know which creek you're in. Sweet corn is the only thing that makes it through my rear. How do you think I keep this lovely grin?
But yeah, that was the first part of my top 100 video games of all time. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I will carry on doing this before my birthday, and I'll see you guys all on the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell me what your favourite games of all time are. And yeah, see you guys in the next part.